If you need 60 days, I can do 60 days, I said, and I heard myself mean it before I could overthink the rest. My name is Taya. I'm 31. I own a small two-bedroom bungalow on a quiet street, and I work the front desk at a pediatric clinic. My alarm goes off at 5:30 a.m., so I can be at my desk by 6:45. I like my coffee at the same time every day. I like sleep more than almost anything. Charlie is my younger brother. He's 28 and was laid off from a warehouse job the week before they rolled their suitcases in. Brianna, his wife, is 27, fast with a joke and the kind of upbeat that bounces around a room. They called me on a Tuesday night, March 1st, and asked if they could use my basement for 2 months, contribute $200 toward utilities on the 15th of each month, and then be gone by April 30th. We just need a soft landing, Charlie said. Mom said you'd probably say yes. I did. I walked them around the side of the house to the basement door with the keypad. It's a smart lock tied to my phone. The basement isn't fancy. One big room with an area rug, a futon, a mini fridge tucked under the stairs, and a small bathroom with a shower stall that runs a little cold if you're not quick. There's a closet where I keep seasonal stuff and some extra linens. It's clean, and it's separate enough that people can feel like they have space. I'm up early for the clinic, I said while I showed them the keypad and how the deadbolt sticks unless you pull the door tight. So, can we keep laundry and showers before 10 p.m.? And try for quiet after that? The floors are old. Sound carries. Totally, Brianna said, like I'd asked them not to host a marching band. She wiggled the code into the keypad, and the little green light blinked. Will be ghosts? Boo. Charlie hugged me. Thank you, Tay. 2 months, $200 on the 15th. We'll be out before your rhododendrons bloom. They already bloom in April, I said, but I smiled. He knows things like that because we grew up with our mom planting them along every fence line she ever had. I pointed to a small dry erase board on the wall. I'm going to write the date we agreed on, April 30, just so we're on the same page. Brianna laughed. Our very own landlord. It was said like a joke, so I let it be one. Bean, my rescue mutt who thinks every footstep is a security risk, sniffed their duffel bags and wagged like we'd adopted two new humans. I told Bean we had not. The first week was easy. We split takeout from the Thai place on the corner, traded Netflix passwords, and argued over who got the last spring roll. Brianna washed their dishes without me asking. Charlie fixed the wobbly handle on my back gate with a screwdriver and a look of focus that reminded me of him as a kid, building towers of VHS tapes just to see how high they'd go. They were tired, but hopeful. I told myself this was exactly what family was for. You throw a cushion under someone while they figure it out. I wrote March 15th, $200 utilities on the dry erase board next to an uneven heart that Brianna drew. I didn't make a big deal of it. It was just a date on a wall in a house where we were being kind to each other. On March 12th, I texted Charlie a photo of Bean wearing a bandana they left on the stairs and asked, Still good for the 15th? He replied with a thumbs up and a yep. On the 15th, I checked my banking app at the clinic during my lunch break just to see if the transfer landed. Nothing. No notifications. I set my phone face down on the desk and helped a toddler pick a sticker after a vaccine. By the time I got home, Brianna had a pot of pasta on, the house smelled like garlic, and Charlie was in the basement applying to jobs on his laptop with a half empty can of energy drink next to him. Any luck? I asked, leaning against the doorframe to give him a minute. Got a second interview lined up, he said. This one's promising. Warehouse manager, not just picking. I'll know by next week. That's good. I kept it light. Hey, reminder about the utilities. Were you going to transfer tonight or tomorrow? Tomorrow, he said, eyes on the screen. I swear, my unemployment hits in the morning. Brianna popped up from the stairs, wooden spoon in hand. Eat first, stress later, she said, waving me toward the kitchen. I made too much. We ate. We laughed at a viral video. It was easy to let the day end on that note. At 10 p.m., after I loaded the dishwasher and flipped my porch light off, I sat on the edge of my bed with Bean's head in my lap and opened my banking app again. Still nothing. I stared at the zero, like maybe if I blinked slow, it would change numbers. It's just a late transfer, I told myself and set a reminder for the morning. The dryer kicked on at 2:07 a.m., a low rumble under my feet, and being barked like an intruder had shouldered past the back door. I blinked at the ceiling, did the tired math, 3 hours until my alarm, and slid out of bed to shush the dog. The sound rolled steady. Spin, thump, spin. Someone dropped the back door on their way in. The frame shivered. In the morning, I poured coffee and waited for their footsteps. Brianna came up first, hair in a top knot, pajama pants dragging. Charlie trailed behind her, hoodie up, eyes grainy. Hey, I said, keeping my voice easy. Quick thing about last night. Could we do laundry before 10? The sound comes right through my floor. Brianna laughed. Not mean, just automatic. We'll be mice, tiny ones. I appreciate it, I said, and meant it. I handed Charlie a mug. Cream's in the fridge. He took it, nodded, reached to scratch Bean's ears. Sorry about the door. The deadbolt sticks. You have to pull it tight. I mimed it. It's an old house. By noon, I was at my desk at the clinic trying to convince a printer to like me, but my phone buzzed with the reminder I set the night before. Check for utility transfer. I tapped my banking app, still zero. I typed, any update on the $200, and deleted it. I put the phone face down and called the next patient. That week settled into a pattern I hadn't really planned on. I'd come home to a damp towel on the bathroom floor and little drifts of rice on the counter from takeout. The shower ran longer, the mini fridge in the basement hummed, and then my upstairs fridge emptied twice as fast. A gallon of milk disappeared in 2 days. I found my cereal box folded shut with more air than flakes inside. On Wednesday, I stood in front of the open pantry, holding the empty cereal box like it might refill itself. Brianna came up the stairs, her phone lit in her hand. Hey, I said, if you finish something, can you just write it on the board? Or give me a heads up? I went to pour breakfast and she grinned, bumped her shoulder into mine. Say less. We'll grab more when we do a run. Or we can all just use whatever and keep a list. Communal pantry vibes. Cool, I said, and then heard myself add, sorry if I sounded weird about cereal. She waved it off. You're good. She tossed the empty box and left the pantry door open. I closed it. That night, the back door closed lightly. Progress. But at 1:54 a.m., the dryer kicked on again. Bean did a low growl this time, then dropped his head back down when I told him we were safe. The next morning, I set my mug down and tried again. Laundry before 10, I said. And dishes rinsed would help too. I don't want food in the sink overnight. And towels, if you could hang them up so they actually dry. We got you, Brianna said. She tapped the fridge magnet with the dry erase board. Put it here, make it official. I uncapped a marker and wrote 3 short lines: laundry before 10 p.m., rinse dishes, hang towels. Underneath that, I wrote March 15th, $200 utilities, and underlined it because it was still sitting there like a dare. That afternoon, my water utility sent one of those your usage is higher than usual emails with a little blue graph climbing. I clicked through the portal and stared at the bars like I could will them down. I live alone. My bill is predictable. This wasn't. At dinner, I kept it simple. Hey, about the utilities. Did the unemployment hit? Charlie twirled spaghetti on his fork, eyes flicking to me and away. There was a delay. Next week, I swear. I've got a second interview on Friday and a side job with Nate on Saturday. I'll square it then. Okay, I said, even though tomorrow had been the last answer. I wasn't going to fight over pasta. Just keep me posted. We will, Brianna said. Also, we got paper towels. The next night, I got home from a late vaccine clinic and found a trail of wet footprints from the basement door to the bathroom and back again. The shower ran another 20 minutes after that. I stood in the hallway with my lunch bag and remembered telling them the shower goes cold if you're not quick. Maybe they were just trying to warm up. On Saturday, I did a grocery run early, thinking I'd get ahead of the week. I added an extra loaf of bread and a big jar of peanut butter to the cart. At checkout, I pulled out a coupon I'd been saving and laughed at myself for feeling triumphant over saving $1. Back home, I labeled two shelves in the pantry with painter's tape, Taya and shared. I set an extra marker by the board. Brianna clocked it when she came up for coffee. Look at us, all organized, she said. I'm going to put our snacks on the bottom so Bean doesn't think he has rights. Bean already thinks he has rights, I said. He wagged like we were talking about him, which we were. That night, the dryer stayed off. The back door clicked gentle. Progress again. At 10:30, my phone buzzed with a Venmo notification and my heart jumped. It was Ivy paying me back for concert tickets. I stared at the non-Charlie notification longer than it deserved, then opened my reminders and added a new one. Follow up. Utilities. I set it to ping me every Monday until it was done, and I hated how it felt, like I was becoming a landlord I never meant to be. I came home on a Friday to balloons tied to my fence and a Bluetooth speaker pulsing bass from the backyard. There were two folding tables I didn't own set up on my grass, bowls of chips sweating grease spots onto paper, and people I'd never seen before playing cornhole with a board that looked borrowed. Brianna popped up from behind a cluster of bodies with a cupcake in her hand and a glitter 27 stuck in the frosting. Tiny birthday, she said, like she'd been waiting to say it. Isn't this cute? There were at least 20 people. My porch light was off, but the back of my house was lit like a stage. Bean did his high pitched bark from the living room and then launched himself at the back door. I stepped inside, clipped his leash, and shut him in my bedroom so he wouldn't Houdini himself into the fun. I found Charlie by the grill, flipping burgers with a pair of tongs I recognized from my kitchen drawer. He grinned like everything was normal. You made it, he said. Grab a plate. What is this? I kept my voice low. It came out friendlier than I felt. Bree's friend's birthday, he said, like the answer was obvious. We didn't want to be in the basement with all these people. Fresh air, less chaos. We'll clean up. My phone buzzed. Scott from next door. Hey, noise is carrying. Any chance you can turn it down? Kid's bedtime. I texted back. I'll handle it. Sorry. I walked over to the speaker and turned the volume down. A few heads swiveled. Someone booed, soft and drunk. Brianna slid in next to me, cupcake gone, glitter still on her fingers. Scott texted, I said. Quiet hours are a thing, remember? Can you keep it low? Relax, she said. It's 9. We're wrapping up. It was 8:37. I didn't argue. I grabbed a trash bag from inside and started a loop. Cups, napkins, a plate with 2 bites of potato salad left to go feral. I stayed polite. I smiled at strangers in my yard and said, bathrooms inside, through the kitchen like a host. I kept Bean from losing his mind. At some point, someone set their cigarette on my fence and a little curl of ash dropped into the mulch. I got a water pitcher and poured a circle on it like a weirdo. Scott's living room light clicked off, then on again. I texted him, turning it down, sorry. He sent back a thumbs up. By 10, the group started thinning. The last of them left at 10:40, dragging a recycling bin I also didn't own out to the curb and leaving it there, top gaping. My yard looked like the morning after a tailgate. Sticky rings on the table, frosting smeared on the arm of one of my patio chairs. I stood in the dark and breathed, then went to find Brianna. In the future, I said, keeping it even, I need a heads up before we host 20 people at my house, and it can't be this loud. Scott's kids were going to bed. Brianna tilted her head like I'd spoken too fast. It was a tiny thing. We didn't think it would be a big deal. You know, community? It's my house, I said. It's a big deal to me. Okay, control freak, she said, smiling like that softened it. We cleaned. I looked at the fence where 3 cups were still nested by the posts. You didn't. Charlie raised his hands. We'll get it in the morning, he said. We're tired. I went inside and printed a 1-page list on my little inkjet. Quiet hours, 10 p.m., 6 a.m. Clean up your mess. Yard, kitchen, bathroom. $200. Due by the 15th. Under that, I typed, move out date, April 30th. I taped it to the fridge at eye level. I took a yellow highlighter and swiped it over April 30 until it glowed. In the morning, the cups were still against the fence. The recycling bin was overflowing with beer cans, and someone's greasy paper plate balanced on top. I took photos, not because I planned on using them for anything, but because the part of my brain that handles bills and schedules wanted a record. When Brianna wandered up around noon, she clocked the paper on the fridge and rolled her eyes. Seriously? She said. We're not in a dorm. Exactly, I said. We're adults. This is what adults do. Charlie came up behind her, read it, and laughed once. We'll be out before you know it, he said, like this was all temporary, therefore unimportant. No need to get official. I need it, I said. This helps me. He nodded without really agreeing, then asked if I wanted the last burger. I didn't. That night, they did bring the cups in. The fence looked like itself again. Brianna wiped the frosting off the patio chair with a damp paper towel while she scrolled her phone. I took that as a half win and made pasta for myself, purely out of spite. At 11:50 I was in bed, Bean already snoring when the washer beeped downstairs. At midnight the dryer started up, the same low rumble under my ribs. I stared at the dark ceiling, counted backward from 100, and listened to the spin, thump, spin of people who said they'd be ghosts. I took my lunch in the park the last Sunday of March and called Ivy. Wind pushed at the edges of my sandwich wrapper. Kids shrieked at a soccer ball. I told her about the tiny birthday in my yard and the dryer droning like an airplane at midnight. If you want peace, put the terms in writing, she said. Not a sticky note, a real message. Clear date, what happens after, what you need. I already put April 30 on the fridge, I said. Paper on a fridge is for chore charts, she said. Text them, make it official, and stop apologizing for cereal. I laughed because she was right. After my shift on April 1st, I typed a note in the Notes app, bolded the date, took a screenshot, and dropped it into a group text with Charlie and Brianna. Hi, both. This is a 30-day notice, so we're all on the same page. Move out date is April 30th. After that, I need the basement back. Quiet hours are 10 p.m., 6 a.m., laundry before 10 p.m., $200 utilities due on the 15th. I'm not mad. I just need my home back by April 30th. I watched the little bubbles. The screenshot showed up with the date, fat and black. Delivered. Then read. 2 blue scene stamps. No reply. Fine. I set my phone down, opened my laptop, and started a new folder on my desktop labeled Basement. I scrolled back and saved the email from the water company with the blue graph climbing. I took a photo of the last electric bill and circled the KW watch spike. I put my grocery receipts in a little stack on the counter and snapped pictures to turn into PDFs later because I knew I'd walk past them 3 times and knock them onto the floor if I left them there. Downstairs, the mini fridge hummed. Someone had propped open the bathroom door with a canvas shoe to air out steam. I tapped on the jamb and said, Hey, heads up, I ordered some moving boxes. They'll be here later this week. Brianna leaned around the hall, hair wet, laughing at something on her phone. We still have a month, she said. You're so eager. I like being ready, I said. It makes things easier. She shrugged. Okay, planner. That night, I added a line to the dry erase board. April 15th, $200 utilities. I underlined it. I didn't add a heart. The cousin chat started 2 days later. My phone lit up with a screenshot Ivy sent me. A new thread titled Cousins. My name highlighted in Brianna's message. Tell me if I'm crazy, she wrote, but would you live under someone who tapes rules to a fridge and sends notices like she's a landlord? I feel like I'm living with a micromanager. I stared at the image long enough that my screen dimmed. I opened our group text again. 2 blue scene stamps still staring back. No reply. I typed, then deleted. Thanks for responding. I typed, then deleted. I'm just enforcing what we agreed. I locked my phone and made tea like that would make me immune. Mom called that evening. Honey, she said, soft and careful. Brianna says things are tense. They are, I said. I sent them a 30-day notice. April 30 is still the date. Can you be patient just a bit longer? She asked. Charlie's trying. He said there's a second interview. I am being patient, I said. I'm not moving the date. I can't do this indefinitely. She sighed, the way she sighs when a plant doesn't take to new soil on the first try. I know you're good. I know you are. Just be kind. I am. Kindness looks like being clear. After we hung up, I ordered a 10-pack of medium moving boxes and a roll of tape for pickup at the hardware store. On my way home the next day, I grabbed them, slid them into the basement closet behind the extra comforter, and shut the door. It wasn't a secret. It was a nudge to myself to follow through. That week, the little things kept their pace. The dryer did a midnight tour on Wednesday. The back door thudded twice on Thursday. I came home Friday to find the painter's tape labels I'd put on the pantry scuffed up from being peeled and stuck and peeled again. The shared shelf was half air. I added peanut butter and pasta to my grocery list without writing it on the board because I didn't want to start a whole meeting about a jar. I told Ivy I wasn't defending myself in the cousins' chat. Good, she said. Let your receipts talk. So I kept gathering. I took a short clip on my phone when the dryer thunked at 2:13 a.m., just the hum and the digital time on my stove in the foreground. I took a photo of the backyard after the party, the cups in the shadows along the fence line. I didn't send any of it. I just put it in the folder with the water graph and the electric bill and my grocery totals so my brain would stop cataloging it at 5 a.m. On Saturday afternoon, I was packing a box of holiday lights and snowman mugs into one of the new cartons when a text from Brianna blinked across my screen. Not to me, but the cousin's thread Ivy had forwarded. She's serious, with a photo of the boxes peeking out of the basement closet. So strict. I put the mug down, took a breath, and left the cousins alone. I opened the group text with Charlie and Brianna and sent one line. Thanks for reading my notice. I watched the screen. Read. Nothing else came through. The dry erase board turned into a countdown without me meaning it to. I crossed off days, wrote a neat 29, then 28, and tried not to narrate it out loud. The calendar on my phone did the same thing with little dots, reminders, bills, the 30th circled. On day 22, I came home to Charlie sitting at the kitchen table, laptop open, a spreadsheet of shifts and pay rates pulled up like it could conjure cash. Any updates? I asked, setting my keys in the bowl. Maybe, he said. There's a place that wants me. Background checks in. Might start soon. They said they'll call tomorrow with a start date. Might start soon, I echoed. Okay. Do you have a plan for the 30th? Where you're going? Looking at a couple short term places, he said. Nate said we could crash a week if we had to. Okay, I said again. I need the basement back on the 30th. He nodded, eyes back on the laptop. We know. That night, the space heaters downstairs hummed a little chorus, two of them by the futon pushing warm air around. The electric meter outside probably spun like a carnival ride. I stood on the landing and said, Hey, if you're cold, I've got an extra quilt. Brianna called up, We're good. The heaters are cozy. At 12:30 a.m., a sweet, smoky ribbon floated up my stairwell. Incense. Bean pricked his ears and grumbled. 30 seconds later, the smoke alarm in the hall let out a crisp single beep that made my shoulders hit my ears. I stepped into the hallway in a t shirt, hair everywhere. No incense inside, please, I said down the stairs. The detector's touchy. It's just sandalwood, Brianna said. It's calming. It beeped, I said. I need sleep. The next morning, I added no incense upstairs or in the stairwell to the board and drew a little X through a stick drawing. I felt ridiculous and also like I might cry if one more thing chirped at me. On day 24th, Mom texted a photo of some new rhododendrons she was planting and wrote, Proud of you both for managing. I sent a heart and didn't explain that managing meant I was counting how many times the back door slammed in a week. April 15th passed without a Venmo ping. On day 27, my reminders stacked up on my screen like a to do list I couldn't finish. Follow up utilities, confirm carpet cleaning. I still hadn't seen the $200, not for March, not for April. I stood in the kitchen with the fridge door open, cold air on my ankles, and told myself not to rehearse an argument. Hey, I said to Charlie that night, catching him as he was plugging his phone into the charger. We're 3 days out. What's your move out plan? Bree's talking to a friend, he said. Motel for a couple nights if we have to. Job should start next week. We'll be okay. Okay, I said, steady. I booked carpet cleaners for the morning after. They'll be here at 8 a.m. His head jerked up. You booked carpet cleaners? Yes, it's standard when people move out. I'm just trying to have the day go smoothly. He nodded, a little stiff. We'll be gone. I called the carpet place at lunch the next day and gave them my card to hold the slot. We'll text you when we're on the way, the woman said. I saved the appointment on my phone with two alerts, 7:30 and 7:55. That night, I started packing. Not their stuff, just the scattered pieces that had merged with mine. I collected their coats from the back of chairs and folded them into a medium box labeled Bree and Charlie jackets. I found their chargers draped off outlets and coiled them with rubber bands, slid them into electronics. Bathroom, hair products on the counter, a curling iron, a tangle of scrunchies. Bathroom, B. I taped the lids and stacked the boxes neatly by the door to the garage. I cleared a corner in the garage, moved my bike, swept, and laid down an old rug so the boxes wouldn't sit on concrete. I wanted no excuses later. No, you lost our stuff, or you mixed up our boxes. I took photos as I went, labels visible, just in case. Guilt tapped at my shoulder. It sounded like my mom's voice and a little like my own. Then exhaustion shoved it aside. I was tired of the late dryer, the incense, the sound of footsteps when the house was supposed to be asleep. I wanted to make coffee at 6 a.m. without stepping around someone's shoes. On day 29, I reminded them again. Tomorrow is the 30th, I said at dinner. I'll need keys back for the basement door. Code changes at 8 a.m. on the 1st. Brianna twirled pasta in a small bowl and didn't look up. Noted, Charlie said. We'll be out. On day 30, I worked my shift and tried not to check my phone every 15 minutes. At 5 p.m., I came home, put Bean's leash on, and took him for a long loop around the block to walk off the anxiety. When I got back, the basement door was open. Boxes were half filled, a suitcase yawning on the futon. Progress. At 8:30, the space heaters were gone. At 9:15, the dryer ran with a final load. At 9:40, Brianna posted a selfie from my couch, my throw pillow tucked under her elbow. The caption read, "Family is everything," with a heart and a handful of tags to cousins and an aunt who loves to comment. I stared at the photo, the edge of my coffee table, Bean's tail blurred in the corner, and swallowed the urge to walk in and yank the pillow away. I put my phone down face first, wrote change code 8 a.m. on a sticky note and stuck it to the front of my brain, and went to bed. I woke up before my alarm, lit by the kind of alertness that doesn't need coffee. Bean thumped his tail once and went back to snoring. I opened the smart lock app and scheduled the basement code change for 8 a.m. on the dot. The old code sat there for a last minute like a memory, then I typed in the new one and hit save. Done. At 7:52, a white van eased to the curb. Two guys in polo shirts and boot covers carried hoses like big blue snakes toward my porch. I met them with the door open and a smile I practiced in the mirror. Basement carpets? I said. Through here, down the stairs, I cleared the path. One of them nodded, checked a clipboard. We'll need a sink for water and a place to dump. Laundry sinks in the basement, I said. I'll come down and show you. Watch the third step. It creaks. I put Bean in my bedroom with a chew and the fan on to hum over the noise. By 8:03, the new code was live. The hoses were snaking down my stairs, and the pre-treatment sprayer was whispering over the rug. I stood with my arms crossed and my jaw unclenched. I didn't feel triumphant. I felt like I'd finally caught up to myself. At 9:40, the van inched forward to make room for another car in front of my house, and I could hear the machine's steady roar through the floor. I'd moved the futon, the storage bins, everything not nailed down to the corners so they could run straight lines. The basement looked bare. Cleaners did their slow ballet with wands and hoses while I stayed out of the way and signed the work order on the porch swing. At 10:12, my phone buzzed. A text from Charlie. Here, need to grab a few things. I typed back, cleaners are working, basement is off limits. Your boxes are in the garage, labeled. I'll open it. Three dots. Then, we still had today. You had until April 30th, I replied. It's May 1st. I told you the code would change at 8. Silence. 30 seconds later, the side gate rattled. I walked to the garage, hit the button, and the door climbed with its usual groan. Boxes stacked neatly, labels facing out, jackets, bathroom, B, electronics, kitchen, B and C. I'd pushed them into a clean line, left plenty of space to pull a car up. Charlie stood there with a coffee and a tight expression, Brianna behind him in sunglasses, like the sun was a personal affront. They'd both read the message. I saw it in the way they didn't look at the door to the basement, just at me. You changed the code, Charlie said. His voice wasn't loud, but it carried an accusation anyway. I did, I said. Like I said I would. That's cold, he said. We're not strangers. It's the date we agreed on, I said. I booked cleaners for 8 a.m. today. Your stuff is packed and safe. I'll help load the car. Brianna pulled her sunglasses down a notch. You locked us out, she said, thumbs moving already on her phone. We were literally here last night helping you clean. You posted a selfie from my couch, I said. At 9:40, that's not helping me clean. She muttered something I didn't catch and lifted her phone higher. Her screen reflected a new thread title as she typed, Family Chat. I watched the little circle spin as she hit send. Don't do this, Charlie said under his breath. Not to me. I'm not doing anything, she said. I'm telling the truth. To me, he said, you didn't have to be like this. I'm being consistent, I said. It's not personal. Feels personal. I kept my voice steady. You can load up. If you need a dolly, it's against the wall. I'd like the garage clear by noon. My phone started vibrating, then again, then again. She locked us out. Taya, seriously? How could you? Names pinged up the screen like a roll call of people who hadn't been yanked awake by the dryer. Lara chimed in fast. Wait, what? You really did that? Another cousin. It's just family. An aunt with a heart emoji. We help each other. I put the phone in my pocket. The carpet machine down below changed pitch as it hit the last strip of rug. Air smelled like cleaner and damp fibers. I grabbed the jacket's box and handed it to Charlie. He took it with a little more force than necessary. This is messed up, Brianna said, eyes still on her phone. People are shocked. I told you all month, I said. April 30th, quiet hours, utilities on the 15th. This isn't a surprise. She laughed once, sharp. Who cares about quiet hours? We're not teenagers. She plucked bathroom or B off the stack like it weighed nothing. You know what? It's fine. We're not dying to be here. Then let's finish, I said. We moved boxes, heavier ones to the trunk, light ones to the back seat. Charlie's jaw worked like he was chewing a thought he didn't like. Twice he almost said something and didn't. When we reached the end of the stack, I swept the empty space again with my eyes, making sure nothing had wandered. The garage looked like itself. The cleaners wrapped up at 11:05. One of them came up and said, "We'll leave the fans a few hours to help it dry. Try to keep off it until late afternoon." "Will do," I said. "Thanks." Brianna angled her phone towards me. A photo of my basement stairs, the cleaning hoses visible, a caption I didn't need to read to know the tone. The family chat kept chiming from my pocket, a steady metronome of opinions. Charlie closed the trunk, finally looked me dead in the eye. You're heartless sometimes, he said. It landed like a flick, quick and mean. I took a breath I didn't feel like I had time for. I'm not, I said. I'm tired, and I meant what I said. He shook his head, got in the car, started the engine. Brianna typed one last thing, hit send with a theatrical tap, and slid into the passenger seat. They backed out, tires crunching the little grit that always collects near the curb. I stood in the garage with the door open and watched the street go still again. My phone buzzed so hard it vibrated against my leg. I closed the garage, leaned against the workbench, and opened the family thread. A wall of messages. Why would you do that? They just needed time. Unbelievable. Lara. Receipts or it didn't happen. I scrolled past the outrage and tapped into the folder I'd been building for weeks. The screenshot of 2 months, the list on the fridge, the bolded 30-day notice with scene, the blue water graph, the electric bill spike, the time-stamped clip of the dryer at 2:13 a.m. I thumbed over the edges of each image like they were index cards and let my breathing even out. Then I took a deep breath and held it like a promise. I opened the family thread and watched the new messages stack. Taya, this is too much. Who locks out family? Lara again. Receipts or it didn't happen? Fine. I typed, kept it short. For clarity, here's the timeline and what we agreed to. This isn't about shaming anyone, it's about why I set a firm date. Then I attached everything. A screenshot of Charlie's March 1st text. Could we use your basement for 2 months? We can do $200 on the 15th. My yes, right under it. A photo of the one-page list taped to my fridge, quiet hours, cleanup, $200 due by the 15th, move out date highlighted, April 30th. The April 1st text I sent with 30-day notice bolded. The two red stamps visible, the water bill, usage higher than usual email with the blue bars. March versus April circled. The electric bill showing the KW jump. I circled it in red. 3 grocery receipts with dates. Totals circled because I live alone and I notice when I suddenly don't. A photo of the backyard the morning after the tiny party, cups nested by the fence, frosting on the patio chair. A 9-second clip, my stove clock glowing 2:13 a.m., the dryer humming through it. I ended with, I changed the basement code at 8 a.m. today, May 1st, as communicated. Their boxes are packed, labeled, and in my garage for pickup. Carpet cleaners are here now. I love my family, and I also need my home to be livable. Please stop assuming the worst. I hit send and set the phone on the counter. Downstairs, the fans the carpet guys left blew a steady, warm wind across the empty rug. Bean lifted his head, then flopped back down with a sigh. The thread went quiet in chunks. The last wow hung there without a response. One cousin reacted to my message with a small heart. Another wrote, didn't see all this, and deleted it before it landed. Lara dropped a single. Oh. My phone rang with Mom's name. I stepped onto the porch to take it. The street felt like it had exhaled. I didn't know it was all this, she said, voice soft, the way she gets when she's repotting something fragile. You told me, but I didn't see. I'm sorry I asked you to wait. I know you were trying to keep the peace, I said. I'm fine. I just need sleep and my kitchen back. They should have paid you, she said. They should have listened. I wasn't asking for much. I sat on the top step, the porch wood warm under my legs. I told them the date, and I stuck to it. You did the right thing, she said. Are they? Where are they? As if on cue, a text from Charlie pinged through under her call banner. At a motel for a couple nights, sent $250 toward bills. That's literally all I can swing until work starts. Hope that makes you feel better. I read it, let it sit for a second, then told Mom, they're at a motel. He sent me some money. That's something, she said. He's embarrassed. Don't let his words stick to you. After we hung up, I opened Charlie's text. The money was there, a transfer notification a few seconds behind it. I typed back, got it. Thank you. I love you both. I'm not doing open-ended stays again. If there's ever a next time, dates in writing and contribution up front. Otherwise, it's a no. 3 dots appeared, disappeared, came back. We weren't trying to be awful, he wrote. It got away from us. I know, I replied. I'm not angry. I'm done being unclear. No last word from Brianna, just a seen receipt on the motel text and silence in the family thread, the kind that means people are rereading. I forwarded my message to Ivy with a single line. Did the thing. She shot back a confetti emoji and, proud of you. Go make coffee at a normal volume. I did. The fans downstairs would have drowned out a marching band, but it still felt symbolic to turn on the grinder without checking the time. I poured a mug and carried it to the porch. Mom called again that evening, gray sky sliding down toward dinner time. If they get a place next month, she said, careful, will you come see it? I'm trying to reset things. If we all keep our boundaries, I said. Yes. She breathed out like she'd been waiting to hear it. Deal. After we hung up, the family thread flickered once more, and Aunt wrote, Thanks for the context. Scott's porch light blinked on next door, then off. I finished my coffee, closed the app where the screenshot sat in a neat row, and let the house hum the way it's supposed to when it's yours. By late afternoon, the fans downstairs clicked off and the house settled into the kind of quiet that isn't empty, just calm. I propped the basement door open to let the last of the damp air out, folded the futon back into a couch, and wiped the baseboards where the hoses had scuffed. The mini fridge hummed to itself. I pulled it open, tossed an abandoned yogurt and a half used jar of salsa, and made a note to buy baking soda to sit in the back and absorb the rest of the party smell that still lived in my head. I made coffee at 5 without checking the time. Bean trotted across the kitchen like he'd been waiting for the signal that normal was back. I poured a mug, took a sip, and didn't tiptoe. On the entry table, I set out a plain black folder. Inside, a one-page guest policy I typed that morning. Dates in writing, contribution upfront, quiet hours 10 p.m., 6 a.m., no parties without approval, clean up immediately, no incense. At the bottom, no open-ended stays. I slid a pen into the spine and tucked a small envelope behind it labeled Keys Code, clear enough that nobody could pretend they didn't understand me. I updated the smart lock, set a standard code just for me, and saved a blank slot labeled Guest Expires. The little check mark next to Auto Expire made something in my shoulders relax. In the garage, the corner I'd cleared for their boxes was empty again, the old rug rolled up and leaned against the wall. I swept once more out of habit and put my bike back. The family thread stayed quiet. A couple cousins reacted to my last message with thumbs up. Lara dropped a got it. I left it alone. When mom texted, How are you? I sent back a picture of Bean asleep, belly up, and wrote, Quieter. She replied with a heart. I took the trash out to the curb and nearly ran into Scott at our shared fence line. He lifted his chin. Hey, Taya. Hey, I said. About the other night. Thanks for texting me. And sorry again. He waved it off. Kids slept through worse. Street feels quiet again. That's the plan, I said. We stood there a minute, neighbor casual, looking at rhododendrons along his side yard that had just finished blooming. Yours look good this year, he said. Yeah, I said. They took their time, but they showed up. The next morning, I sent Charlie a short text. Let me know where to forward any mail. Hope the job comes through. I meant what I said. If there's a next time, dates and contribution upfront. He sent back, work starts Monday. We're figuring lodging. No emojis. I left it there. Ivy called on my lunch break. Did you sleep? Like a person, I said. Proud of you, she said. Now take that policy and laminate it like the office nerd you are. I laughed. Don't tempt me. A week later, my phone buzzed with a photo from Charlie, a small rental, beige carpet, vertical blinds, one slat shorter than the rest, a sun patch on the floor. Not fancy, he wrote, but it's ours for now. I looked at the light on the carpet like a promise nobody had to make to me. Proud of you, I texted back. Congrats. Boundaries in place, and I'll bring a plant when you're ready for visitors. Deal, he said. A beat later, thanks for holding the line. Mom came by that evening with 2 grocery store cookies in a paper bag and settled next to me on the porch steps. We watched the street be boring, a jogger, a mail truck, the slow turn of someone learning to parallel park. I talked to them, she said. They're rattled, but they know. I know too. I know you were trying to keep things smooth, I said. She nodded, a little sad, a little relieved. Smooth isn't always kind. No, I said. Sometimes it's just quiet. We ate the cookies with our hands, sugar dusting our fingers, bean nosed around our knees for crumbs, and then decided the sun warmed wood was better than biscuits. What's your plan for the folder? Mom asked, glancing back at the entry table. Anyone who wants to stay knows the rules, I said. Dates, contribution, no exceptions. I don't want to be a landlord, but I won't be vague. She smiled. You sound like me, talking to my plants. They listen, I said. Eventually, she bumped her shoulder into mine. We didn't talk about the cousins' chat. We didn't talk about the $250 beyond me saying it helped with the cleaners and part of the bills. We didn't debate anything. We just shared the kind of quiet that felt like respect. When she left, I did a last loop through the house. Dishwasher running, laundry folded, the dry erase board wiped down to clean white. I erased the April 30 highlight with one firm swipe and wrote groceries in the corner like a normal person about to live a normal week. Before bed, I flipped through the screenshots in my basement folder one more time and then moved the whole thing into an archive. Not to forget, just a file. The next morning, Scott waved from his driveway. The clinic called to ask if I could cover a Friday shift. Ivy sent a link to a patio table on sale. Charlie texted their new address for mail. I wrote it on an envelope and tucked it into the black folder so I wouldn't lose it. I made coffee without thinking about anyone's sleep but mine, opened the window to let in the ordinary sounds of my street, and exhaled the kind of breath that doesn't ask permission. My house is a boundary I can see and touch, and I intend to keep it that way.